Hello, my name is Nevalon and this is Dofus Newbie channel. Now, first concept for this video was supposed to be just about PvPing, but then I decided to divide some topics which are also helpful for PvMing. So first two topics, which are combat and builds, are pretty much for everyone, and PvPing will be just for the people interested in this aspect of the game, with my personal experience included at the end. And keep in mind that this is all based on my knowledge, and if you think that I could have added something more, then let everyone know in the comments. If you think this video is useful, then make sure to share it with the others. And check out my Twitch channel, where I will be more active than on my YouTube channel. Alright, let's begin with the combat part. So first thing that I want to talk about is filtering the chat. I'm talking about these four icons on the right side of the chat that you can switch whenever you want. If we right click one of them, then we can also edit them. And also in the menu tab in the settings, you can for example edit the colors of them. Going back to the filtering. The main filter that I want to talk about here is the fight filter. As you can see, every single icon on my chat is filtered in my preferred way. And in my first icon, I have a fight chat. I often use it for the PvP, that's why you can also see the Colosseum and team chat included in there. But the fight chat filter also is useful for the PvM. A part of the information about the combat that is happening in the fight, we can also check where and how the spells were casted. All we need to do is to click on the spell name in the fight chat. This way we can see in what direction or what cell the spell was casted. We can also see if it's single target or AoE spell. This doesn't fully work against the traps, since it only shows the direction and visuals of it. And about the fight chat is one more thing. Let's say for example you're leeching your character, but unfortunately you close the window and you cannot see how much XP you exactly got. After the fight is over, there is always this text saying end of fight. If we click on it, then we can see the details about the previous fight. And of course we can also maximize and minimize this window. Going back to the settings, in the feature tab we can edit some of the fight settings. Now I won't explain each one of them here, but it's worth messing around with them up to your preference. One setting even tells us about disabling the states icons using Alt+7. Speaking about the combinations with Alt button. If we click on the character in the turn bar, then we can see all the effects it has. But if we hold Alt and click one of them, then the text will show up on the team chat. This can be helpful for communication. For example, if we want to tell our teammate to not hit them up in the close combat until he has specific effect activated. If we talk about effects, one effect that players don't understand is erosion. Erosion allows us to reduce maximum vitality on the target. Every player and mob has 10% base erosion. That means that 10% of the damage we deal will remove that amount of target's vitality. Characters can also apply erosion debuff. This allows every character that hits the target to reduce their vitality based on the amount of erosion the target has. This debuff and many others can be removed with Unbewitchment spells. Unbewitchment allows us to reduce effect's duration. So pretty much it's every spell that has minus effect duration. This works on buffs and debuffs at the same time, so keep that in mind. Also, some effects cannot be unbewitched. Back to the turn bar. You sometimes don't want to search for every effect in there, right? Well, move your mouse on this gray bar. You can see there are many details about effects, states, etc. Unfortunately, it doesn't show things like, for example, when Ivory will trigger. By the way, if anyone ever pings you the location but you won't see it, then you don't need to ask them to ping again. Just click on this text. Now, as for the builds. If you thought that I will magically give you all the best builds in the game, then you must lower your expectations. Often I see people asking for builds in various ways. Not mentioning what level they are, sometimes class, whether if it's for PvM or PvP, and if it's for PvP, then what kind of, and also if they can afford exos and eggs. Yes guys, these details fucking matter. Sounds overwhelming? Then what if I tell you that in some cases there are no best builds even? Because what do you even consider best build? A build that can be literally for everything in the game? It's hard to find those. The point I want to make is that you sometimes need to adapt your build to your class and activity. If it's for PvM, then you mostly want to aim for the high damage output. If it's for PvP, then you surely want to take a look at the reses. If you are a range character, then you might care about the range statistic. Not to scare you, don't think that it's impossible to play with one build. I used to do that when I hit my first level 200. I just don't want to give you templates that you might not be satisfied with. Instead, I want to give you a few tips on how to search builds, inspirations, and make them by yourself. Let's start with websites. Personally, I can suggest you 3 of them to find yourself a build. Most popular is Dofus book. There are many content creators that are sharing builds for various classes, elements, and activities. Just go to builds and then search for public builds. Next, just select level range for the build you want and tags that mainly interest you. Then just explore. Also, don't look if people set the build for specific class. Main thing you want to pay attention to is statistics. They matter the most. I'm saying it because many builds can be used for multiple classes. Another website is DofusDB. There you can explore builds by filtering specific statistics. But this website has one flaw. It doesn't limit builds with items that in-game allows you to have, for example, maximum 11 AP. And for example, agility build using Wings of Chaos or Meno build, you can have 12 AP according to the website, which is wrong. So make sure to recreate builds another website to see if everything is accurate. And last website is Dofus Room. I personally never used it, but it also can be helpful. Only thing that might be confusing for the English players are the tags that are mostly in French, but it's not that difficult to learn them by the time. Now you can copy builds one to one, but you can also modify them and search for alternative items. I absolutely recommend you playing around with these builds. This can help you creating stuff for yourself in the future and improve your build creation skills. This is exactly what I was doing, experimenting with various ideas and comparing the stats that would lead me to my final choice of items. items. Obviously, it's not like I remember all the items, sets, and statistics they give, there's just too many of them. But I have quite of a clue which items are worth using, so don't be scared to come up with your ideas. Create builds, discuss them with others, and improve your knowledge. When it comes to understanding damages, I think it confuses players the most. Choosing between characteristics and damage, and some players don't even know what power stat is. It increases your characteristic damage for all elements, you're welcome. If you are unsure what is better, then build creating websites allows you to see estimated damages. You can even activate boosts there. And before we finish this topic, one more thing. Ensembles, they allow you to save your spells, builds, and characteristics points, and you can switch them before the fight. But sometimes editing them might be annoying. Here is a little trick to make it a bit easier. Once you change your items in your inventory, spellbar, or characteristics, open the ensembles window. Next, click on the ensemble that you want to edit, rename it, and save it. And it's edited. Now we are stepping into PvP part. So those that are not interested in it, you can close the video, and I hope that I helped you a bit. I'm gonna talk about how to approach the PvP, describe it a bit, and give you a few tips from the guy that's been doing PvP in Dofus since his first level 200 in past 1.5 years. In Dofus currently we have two types of PvP, Colosseum and Perceptor/KOF that are related with Alliance system. I'm not going to talk about Alliance stuff since it's a bit more complex, and if you wanna do it to the fullest, then most likely you will need really good Alliance with PvPers and be properly geared for PvP as well. So our main target will be Colosseum, which I will shortly call Coli. Recently in update 2.70 there was a rework to Coli, and as for the time of the recording, the system is still being improved. Well, at least it should be. We have three types of Coli, 1v1, 2v2 and 3v3. 2v2 and 3v3 can be played with the partners from the same server. Fights in Coli are cross-servered, meaning that in the match we can meet the players from the other servers. First games are usually placement matches that after few fights will assign you the rank and the rating. Previously rank was just a cosmetic, but now Ankama reworked it, so rank is now depending on your rating and the level you're playing on. Since Coli can be played from level 20, people often create characters to play it on lower level. There obviously meta varies a lot comparing to higher levels, but also they are less rewarding in tokens. Speaking of which, after winning you get OVA tokens, which allows you to receive rewards for specific amount, and most importantly Colos tokens that you can exchange in Kane Massive. Now that I sort of explained that, you might wonder if PvP is for you. Surely 1v1 is literally for anyone. There you don't need to worry about anything but your own gameplay. No matter what level you are, you can casually do 1v1 and possibly enjoy it. As for the gear, we will get to that, but with the budget gear or even with the PvM gear you can do some matches and see how you feel about them. But what if we want to get better at it? What if we want to also do team PvP? Well then, first of all, gear matters a lot more. For PvP, every statistic may matter depending on the class you play or the classes you play against. So it's really important to adapt your gear and spells to matchups. Resists are the main things that people look at. Only exception is neutral resist due to it being simply hard to get from the builds, and there are only specific situations when you will receive neutral damage. Though in 1v1 at higher rating you can see that people are sacrificing resist against some matchups in order to get better stats. It comes from the experience and also amount of the gear they have. Also when it comes to gear, you can often notice that people are using Prytek for shields or Dokoko for heals. As for Prytek, it's often a must-have for team PvP. Due to recent nerfs, it's not as strong as it used to be, but it still can help you sustain some early damage for 3 turns. Certain classes also use it in 1v1, but more often you will see their Dokoko. In team PvP it will not have that good of a use due to matches lasting less turns and erosion coming from multiple people. But in 1v1 you get turn right after your enemy, and that allows you to get heals every 3 turns. Also in game you have legendary items or legendary statuses for pets. And as much as the items in certain builds can be useful, the pet bonuses are not that much of a game changer in my opinion. So don't worry if you can't afford them. Till now neither of my pets has any effect and I'm fine like this. What's the best way to get knowledge and experience in PvP? Now here many methods can be suggested. One of them is simply playing the game. I often would advise people to focus on 1v1 Coli in order to understand their class better and also to see what other classes can do against them. Obviously gameplay in 1v1 will be way different unlike in team PvP because this is where everyone depends on themselves. But it will help you to have a slight clue of what other classes can do and let you analyze what spells they have. Speaking of which, eventually you will have moments of thinking like, oh, I can't beat this class, or what is the spell they cast? This is where following tips that I gave you at the start of the video about combat might help you. Check and fight chat will eventually make you memorize the spells. Then you can go on Dofus website or even that one on GitHub and read about their details. This GitHub website even has described summon spells unlike Dofus official website. Let's not forget about more experienced players. In Dofus it's sometimes hard to find PvP content creator of a specific class and even harder to find English speaking one. But there are still many PvPers that you can learn something from. I mostly would search them on YouTube using phrases such as Coli or Top Ladder and trying to analyze their gameplay. And I would also browse Twitch. I can even mention about 2 English speaking PvP streamers. Links should be on the screen right now. And this may sound simple, but why not practice spells on the pouch? You playing Sham and you can't make a trap line? Maybe an Iliad chop and you can't understand the portals? Just go hit the pouch and practice. These fights you can leave anytime you want and you will not lose energy on them. Sometimes players ask what spells to use. Why would you wait for anyone to send you their spell bar? Just go get the feeling of your class and check them on your own. Shortcuts. I suggest making them for stuff such as transparent mode or to quicker use these icons below the end of the turn button. They may become handy especially if you play us or against Iliotrop or maybe long match against Sadida. Lastly, I wanna teach you how to assume where is an invincible enemy. We obviously will mainly talk about shrams. So when enemy becomes invincible, all you need to do is move your cursor on the character image in the turn bar like this. Up and down, in and out. Now each time he uses MP, more area will get highlighted. And if they cast the spell, then it goes back to one cell highlight. So basically from previous position you get information on how many MP they used, but it doesn't mean how far they went. They could go back and forth between two same cells. And if they step on the shram's positioning trap, then it doesn't add to the highlighted area. This method can also work in PvM, but not always. Example can be Mob Tried, where this method of finding him doesn't really apply. But surely against shrams it's something that you should know and make use of. And to the players that will play with the shram, if shram casts miss, then use your spells before moving to hide yourself properly. And now we get to the point where I will share my experience from when I started PvPing 1.5 years ago. In my 1-hour video I said that I played Dofus since March 2022. So it's already been like 2 years since I'm playing the game, and it's like 1.5 years since I'm doing PvP. And how come that I started PvPing in such an early state for me? I'll try to share my experience chronologically. So I was doing PvP even before I hit my first level 200. I was doing it mostly obviously just for fun. And also before I hit level 200 I was already making builds by myself and wasn't really paying attention if they are good for PvP. And obviously due to my experience and my really low budget, I really didn't want to troll anyone, so I wasn't doing team PvP, I was really focused on 1v1. And once I hit level 200 I got my first budget PvP gear. And for a while I was like PvPing with the Kra and eventually Iliotrop. I even remember reselling items just to get another set, just to try out different elements. But on the screen right now you can see like 2 sets that I had for a long time. No exos, no eggs, pretty much pure budget gears. And I was using them for both PvP in 1v1 and also for PvM. And obviously they weren't really the greatest, but they were satisfying me. And like a year ago I class changed my Iliotrop to a Sacrier. And it's not like because I didn't enjoy Iliotrop or I really was struggling to understand the class, but it's simply because I thought that Sacrier's brain that then I wanted to play it. And I wasn't really that wrong about it. But why Iliotrop and not the Kra? Well, because Kra was still useful for like farming low level mobs, and that's why I kept it. And yes, I could use Sacrier for it, but at the time I wasn't really familiar with the class. And on Iliotrop in 1v1 I could feel the lack of the Dofuses and the gear. But enough about the choice, because that's not the point of the video. I enjoyed the Sacrier and I play it. To be honest, it's so random to mention it in this video, but whatever. And what can I say? I was still grinding, 1v1ing and also PvMing. Some time passed and I remember having agility and chance gear as far as I remember. I already also had exos and eggs, and somehow I managed to be in top 16 Sacrier in 1v1. I was like, why? Because, you know, seeing myself in the class leaderboard was kinda surprising to me, but it also felt like some sort of accomplishment that I didn't really aim for. But at the same time, I didn't feel like I belonged to that rating. Eventually, I decided to gain some experience in 3v3 and Perceptor fights. And I don't think that there's much more to say, I'm still a PvPer. And even in the previous update, I managed to appear in the class ladder with my Ujnak and Sacrier. For the context, recently 2.71 update dropped. I don't even know how Koli feels like now because I haven't played it to see the meta. Well, I think I've shared everything I could. Maybe it will make some players feel less scared about PvP and give them wider perspective. Lastly, I want to say that this is probably my last video for quite a while, or maybe at all. More about it will be in the comment below. But on my Twitch channel, I will keep streaming Dofus until I play this game, so you can check out how I PvP or do some other stuff in there. And if you found this video useful, then of course share it with the others and maybe give it a like. This is it for this video. Take care. Alright. Doesn't play anything special, so probably I just do that. And I kill. Nice! Got him. Guys, tell me why the fuck am I getting sanctioned for this time?